All right, Rob Kendall speaking with Tyler Bless, the head coach of the Plainfield Quakers. Coach, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Great. Obviously, kind of getting back into the winning ways of things on Friday night. You got to be real pleased with the way your team played, especially how they came out of the gate.
Yeah, very happy for our kids. Obviously, it's fun to win, and the way that I think we did it was, unique in our own way. We had a really good start, kind of hit a little bit of complacency in the second quarter, and then came out in the third quarter really strong offensively, and then was able to finish strong defensively with a fumble recovery at the end to kind of make sure everything was tied up. But yeah, extremely proud of our kids. Great to go 1-0, especially in the Mid-State Conference.
Yeah, let's talk about coming out of the gate. Obviously, anytime you come off a loss, you want to come back strong, and you guys just came out of the gate great. You got that big lead early. As a coach, it's got to tell you something about your team that they weren't down, they didn't look back, they really were looking ahead to this week.
Yeah, I think a big testament of that is our leadership from our seniors and responding together, and really we had a really good week of practice, really Monday through Thursday. So to be able to go out on Friday with a fast start and put 20 on the points on the board in the first quarter was obviously something that we knew we could do. We just obviously had to execute at a high level, and then was able to kind of fend some of their stuff off that. They're still, I know the record is not where they want it to be, but that's still a really physical football team that has some really good athletes. So obviously you still have to play the other three quarters, and I think our kids figured that out in the second quarter on kind of how we kind of hit a little bit of maybe stubbed our toe a little bit on offense, and then allowed a really poor fourth and goal tackling from our defense. But overall, yeah, very, very pleased from our week of practice and how we responded from last week's.
One of the things that was interesting about the game Friday was the diversity of guys that got in the end zone. We're obviously used to two names that we hear all the time getting in the end zone, but some new names. Was that a conscientious thing, or hey, that's just the way the ball fell?
Probably a little bit more how the ball fell. I mean, Ethan Ellis is one of our starting receivers, one of our faster kids in our program. So thought that the reverse was something that obviously we've practiced. It looked good in practice, and he was able to execute at a high level. I didn't anticipate it to be, however far it was. I know it was
75,
really long, 75 yards. So we'll take that. We'll take the cherry on top. Bryce also got in right at the very end on a quarterback sneak. So happy for those guys. Obviously, Luke and Weston are continuing to do very well for us in the backfield. So eventually, one of these weeks, we might have a passing touchdown.
Let's talk about the week of preparation. Do you do anything different coming off a loss, or is it just kind of business as usual?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, you kind of got to look yourself in the mirror and say, where could I have done a better job for our football team as the head coach, and then ask our players that same thing. I think our players would agree with everybody that, we probably needed to maybe lock in just a little bit more on the minor details of things. But the positives are that they are saying that rather than the coaches saying it to them. So I think they understood that they needed to tighten some things up. But overall, very pleased with the leadership of our seniors in our locker room. And just, hey, we've got to be better. Like, the season's not over. We still get to play football. We still come out to practice. So I thought we responded in the correct manner. We didn't put a huge emphasis on it in terms of, we must have a great practice. Hey, this is the day that we get, so let's make the most of it. Let's make sure we're doing the things that we need to do, that winning requires. And I think that showed off on Friday night.
Yeah, because the reality is good teams do lose football games. I mean, look at number one Alabama getting beat last night. We saw Tennessee get beat, who was a top five team. We saw Georgia the week before that. The reality is good teams lose football games, and it's sort of how you respond to it, as long as it's in the middle of the season and not in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's winning is hard at any level, and I think that shows, probably week in and week out in college games and in high school games and even in NFL. So when you have the opportunity to win, and however, if it's by 1, if it's by 35, whatever it is, like, you need to enjoy it. You need to tell your kids how proud you are of them, because it's hard to do. It's not something that just is going to happen. So I think our kids are starting to understand what it takes to earn victory, but what also, if we stub our toe, what also that feeling looks like. So really coach talk here, but like we just try to go 1-0 every day. Like try to have a good meeting today, have a good practice on Monday. But like I think our kids are understanding the importance of those minor details that leads up to having a successful night on Friday night.
All right, let's thank the sponsors that have made Plainfield football broadcast possible all year long, both the coaches show and the broadcast on Friday night. Remax Centerstone, Julia Burbridge, Gannell Financial, Crone Family Construction, My IT Indy, Ryan Grimes, I-70 Record Service and Garage, BGW Construction LLC, Legacy Motorsports, Crest Point Real Estate, Chris Pearson Sell with Jones, the Stewart Home Group, and Ellis and Associates. All right, so final home game, regular season home game anyway, of the year on. We hope it's just the final regular season home game of the year on Friday night. We're going to be at home against Whiteland. What does Whiteland bring to the table?
Yeah, Whiteland is 3-3, so their week 2 game when we played Harrison on that Saturday ended up being canceled with Kokomo. So they've got 6 games under their belt. They've lost the last 2 and really the last closing minutes of the Martinsville game 2 weeks ago, and then Friday night versus Mooresville. But it's important not to look at their record because they're really well coached. They got really good athletes. They have a winning tradition. They've been successful versus us. I mean, the stats don't lie. I don't think we have beaten them since maybe the 2016 or 2017 season. So they've kind of had our number. Coach Fisher does a phenomenal job. Their offense is unique, and it's been that way since he's been there. And their defense flies around and makes a lot of plays. So super important week of practice. It is our fall break, so that we need to take that and use it to our advantage and rest up and get healthy. But also, when it's time to come to football practice, we need to be locked in and ready to go because this team that we're going to play is going to be ready to play on Friday night, and we need to be able to respond in the correct manner.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whiteland is sort of a reflection of the conference as a whole, how strong the conference is. I'm very old, so I've been doing this for a very long time. And when we first started doing this, there were certain games you just like check off. Okay, hey, we're going to win that one, and we're going to win that one. And Whiteland in the beginning, back in the dark ages, was one of those ones where it's like, hey, we should win that one. And you look at this now, and there are no we should wins anymore. You gotta work hard every single week.
Yeah, I mean, you got to show up and you got to be ready to play football. We're not a conference that you get to just say, well, we'll win this one, we'll win that one. You have to earn victory in every single one. This one's no different. Glad to be at home, especially during fall break, so we just don't have to travel. But also just the opportunity to win at home. We try to make this place a home field advantage. Obviously, we did not do that the last time we played here at home, so it's a little bit of a how will we respond with our home field advantage.
Let's talk a little bit about the final home game of the regular season. It's no longer senior night, as we talked about for those of you who are super fans. The opening game of the year was our senior night. And what is different? I mean, does that matter at all? Is there anything different, or is it just, hey, it's just another home game?
I don't think it's just another home game. We had our reasons on why we wanted to do senior night week 1. I think this one is it's a home game that we get to beat Whiteland, and that's the focus, and that's where we need to have our mentality and our mindset at. They're a team that's played in state championship 2 years ago. We got beat by them in regionals. Like I said, they probably feel very confident in going against us because of what they've done the last handful of seasons. So it's one of those where like this is every game is important. This one is super important, not only because it's the next one, but also, this is in a sectional opponent team, and we put emphasis on that, every day in some of our practice periods that I've mentioned on this show. If you're a super fan, like you say, but it's one of those schools that every time you play them, whether it's at their place or at home, that you need to be prepared on offense, on defense, and special teams, because they're going to try to attack you in every single way to give them an advantage over the opponent.
Do you hold anything back for somebody there's a good chance you may see early on in the postseason? Do you say, hey, well, maybe we won't do this one on Friday, or is it like, hey, it's all out there right now, we got to win this game Friday?
I think it's all like anything's on the table. I mean, I don't want to say whatever it takes because I don't think that's appropriate. Like I don't want to, hey, let's be dirty, and like I don't want to say that, and I don't think that's what we're about. But like we need to do whatever it takes within the philosophy that our program stands for, and we need to be able to take advantage of any of their weaknesses. And if we can steal a possession on special teams, or if we can find a way to put another defensive lineman in the game to stop their jet sweep, things like that. I don't think we need to hold back on it, especially where we're at in our conference standings. Obviously, it's us and Decatur with one loss, and then Martinsville's at the top. So we got to obviously control what we can control. But this is a super important game, not only because it's the next one, but for us to obtain our goals, we need to win this game.
Let's talk a little bit about fall break, about how does that change anything? Is there anything different, or is it just, hey, that's just a couple days we're not at school? What happens this week, if anything, that's different?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of practice times, no, because of some of our coaches' schedules and them being lay coaches, they have other jobs that are not teaching. Kids will be able to kind of sleep in a little bit. We'll get them up early in the week and get a lift in at the field house with Coach Vanderbush. But really the big difference is you're not sitting in a class for 7 periods, and you have some more your own time to do things. And that's where we've got to be professionals and be a pro at, going to bed at a decent time, waking up at a decent time. And then when it's time to come to football practice, we need our kids to have great attitude, great effort, and great execution.
All right, so let's wrap up the show as we always do. We kind of talk about somebody, or somebody's plural, who are behind the scenes for Plainfield football. Don't always get a lot of publicity, but certainly we couldn't do the program without them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like the best. This is probably me just being overly grateful.
It's your show. You can do whatever you want.
Sure. Having my dad on our sideline has been huge, and he's volunteering. He's in his last year of teaching. He's in his 40th year of teaching at Avon, so he's going to retire in May. But he comes every day besides Sunday and Thursday, and just having him around has been a huge impact on obviously me, but our coaches, our players have responded well to him. He's helping out with our offensive line, but just kind of a full circle thing. I mean, when I played for him at Mooresville, my grandfather, his dad was on sidelines as well. So kind of a unique situation. Not every high school head coach gets to do that and experience those things. So probably just very grateful and appreciative of our coaching staff, but especially of my dad, since, kind of grown up in this business, and this is all we know.
Yeah, and obviously love your dad. And since I am the father time of Central Indiana sports broadcasting, I had the pleasure of doing this show at Avon with your dad for many, many years. And that's probably a pretty neat thing. I mean, the idea that you're doing the same thing now with your dad that he did with his dad beforehand. And, maybe if you're lucky and your wife allows your kids to subject themselves to coaching, they'll do it with you someday.
Hopefully they go into a profession that's a little bit less stressful and a little bit more paying. But who knows?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Not in your family. All right, Coach, let's get a big win on Friday night. We'll look forward to hopefully talking about 7-1 heading into the final game of the year against Martinsville. Good luck on Friday.
All right, Rob. Appreciate you.